Hey there, welcome to Something About Tabletop. This is going to be a GM tips video by Master Blah, talking about dealing with splitting up the party and pacing, based on that fact. This is going to be not Shadowrun specific. Could be basically any system, but I know for sure that doesn't happen in D&D much. Now, splitting up the party can just be a byproduct of your character's plans, or maybe the scenario that you've created, but sometimes you can use splitting the party to actually use it as a tool to put the spotlight on certain characters that normally don't get it. Whether that be putting characters in situations that they're not used to because they're used to having the full party around, this can be a good way to explore either the weaknesses of your characters, or even putting the strengths for people that, say, aren't as extroverted as others and aren't usually in the spotlight. But the downside of splitting the party is that it can really ruin pacing, leaving some people doing nothing. But a way to stop that is just to learn how to pace. Learn how to split the party and when to swap. This one's pretty simple. They use it in TV shows, movies, all that kind of stuff. Get to a situation where the tenseness and everything is kind of boiled up, is coming to fruition, and then cut. Now, this can basically let them live off of so this can be, say, maybe the stealth adept in a Shadowrun game just got caught, or just stole the thing that he needs, cut to the other party. And this can be, say, the sniper getting the kill or assassination that he needs to do, cut to the other party. Try not to cut too much, because this can create a weird dissonance that things are moving too weirdly and things are moving too fast, and maybe people might feel that they're being cut off. But it's also depending on what they're trying to do. If their bit's only small and they just need to complete their mission, try to get their mission completed. But if it's starting to go too long, there's not an exact time, try to read the players. See if they're looking bored. If they're all in on this situation, then continue. But if you can see they're getting bored, cut. That kind of thing. Try to read how the other players are doing. Try to see if they look bored. Otherwise, it really depends on what's happening. If it's action-packed enough, it's just basically read your players. And if you have difficulty doing that, maybe 10-15 minutes per spotlight. But it really depends on what's going on, what the spotlight's about, that kind of thing. Also, when doing simultaneous combats that are in different areas, you may be tempted just to do this is one combat, this is one combat. But as a GM, if you can deal with it, run 2 combats simultaneously. So you got 1 people on the first floor taking on drones, and on the 3rd floor you have people taking on an assassin. And you can run those combats simultaneously, everyone rolls initiative simultaneously. And this can be more difficult to deal with as a GM, but it's a great way to kind of have that cut. Obviously, you might come in with some metagaming issues, but if you've got good players, they won't know. They won't, metagame, that is. Alright? It can be difficult, but make sure that each spotlight lasts the same amount of time. So, the hard part about this is really what they're doing. A large talking scenario where you're trying to talk someone into doing something for you can last a lot longer than, say, a quick combat. But trying to make it last the same amount of time, and I mean out of game time, not in game time, because then people will feel that, no one's hogging the spotlight. If there's a certain area or a scene that has a character taking a lot of the spotlight, say a face is doing mass negotiations, or a hacker is hacking into a place, or a mage is, going into the astral and doing all this cool bullshit, even though it's kind of metagaming, and in that situation, their character wouldn't be able to talk to the other players, try to get the other character's opinions, especially if that person is stuck. Now, if you want the feel of your game to restrict that kind of metagaming, go ahead. But I mean, this is kind of a group game, and letting the other players go, hey, maybe you should do this is my idea, maybe you should do that, maybe you should use that spell, maybe you should hack in this way, it can really help everyone feel like they're helping, even if they're only helping out of game. Of course, this is of course helping with rules aside. So, if someone has a cool idea, maybe they should tell them. Obviously, if you don't want that kind of thing, don't do it. Don't push yourself to either. This works. This is basically just a way if you see that your players are getting bored, or just a player's stuck. Also, when a spotlight is on one person, assistance checks a key. Now, this isn't in every system, but in Shadowrun and D&D, point at someone, give them advantage if you have that skill, if I remember correctly. In Shadowrun, you have to have that skill, and you roll your hits, and bam, they get a number of extra dice equal to your hits. This is a good way just to make people feel like they're helping more, and they certainly are, when one player may be taking the spotlight more. Alright, so hopefully that helps with you dealing with pacing and stuff in your next game. Just remember, try to keep it short, sharp, make sure something gets done in every scene, and make sure that your players are having fun. Make sure that they're engaged. I've had plenty of times where I'm engaged just watching people do things and listening to see what's going on. But, if you see your players look like they're ready to do something, let them do it. Whether that be cutting to them, seeing what they want to do, stuff like that.